Alright, welcome everyone. Eugene, Hughes Motorized. Let's talk about carburetor cleaning, okay? Let's say you've got some performance problems. Your bike's running like it's starved for gas, won't start. You just got some bad issues with it. Maybe you got some gas dribbling out of your air filter for those of you who run an air filter, or it's just gas is peeing out the back of your carburetor here. Whatever somebody tells you need to clean your carburetor, let's go ahead and clean a carburetor, okay? So first off, you're going to need a dirty carburetor. Check, we got that. I recommend you get you some carburetor cleaner spray. Get you a nice sized little bowl here. Now I just cleaned it here. We're doing take 2 on my video here, so I'm showing things here. And you're going to need a nice little bowl that your carb will fit in. So you're going to spray carb cleaner on it. You can use gas as well as a cleaner here. I use these little acid brushes for cleaning small parts. You can get them from the plumbing section. They use them to put paste flux on and the like here. I call them acid brushes here. Got a little pin vise set here. These are just little bitty baby drill bits here. And the little pin vise here that holds it here. Holds the little drill bits here. You can use that to clean out your drills, your jet. Or if you got you an old cable here, throttle or brake cable here, you can unravel it here and then take you a little bitty piece of wire off the cable here, just fray it, and come on. Work it loose, get you a single strand of cable, and you can use that to clean the jet. But we'll get to that in just a minute here. Flat blade screwdriver for removing the jet. Oh, pair of pliers would be helpful, and a Phillips screwdriver, okay? So first step, we got to remove the carburetor off of the bike. You're going to loosen up your little Phillips screw here that they have on most of the intakes here. Might need to take your pair of pliers and back up the little nut here. Loosen it up. Give your carburetor a little twist back and forth, and it should come off of your intake. And then you're going to remove your fuel line. Be sure and turn your petcock off. Pull it out there. And I recommend just go ahead and drain all of the gas out of your gas tank. If your bike has been sitting up for a while, you're going to want to drain all the gas out of your gas tank and start fresh. Even rinse it out, put a little fresh gas in it, shake it up, and dump the gas out here. That way we're putting clean fuel back in it, okay? So what we're going to want to do is let's start from the outside in here, okay? Let's go ahead and remove the cap. Unscrew your carburetor cap here. And pull out your carburetor slide. Let's see here. Okay, so first thing we're going to want to clean here, let's clean the carburetor slide here, okay? Make sure there's no gunk on this here, primarily on this needle here. If you've got any accumulation of crud, if your bike has been sitting up for a while, gas will turn into a sludge, even just over time. Gas, oil, the ethanol mix here will turn into a sludge. And if you've got anything here on this little needle here, it's going to cause problems. Make sure that that's clean, okay? You can leave it on the bike, spray it on the bike here, all right? So, now then, what we want to do is we want to spray the exterior of the carburetor, get it completely clean. Let's go ahead and get the fuel line off. Okay? Spray the exterior of the carburetor off here. Get your little acid brush here. Clean all the dirt. Clean everything off of the exterior of the carburetor here. You're going to want to spray some carb cleaner into the opening here. Okay? Make sure there's nothing inside of it here. Make sure that there's no sludge. Put your finger in there. Get you some Q-tips, whatever. Be careful with the Q-tips that you don't leave any fibers of the Q-tip left in there, and make sure that there's no goo and residue anywhere inside of the opening here the intake here of your carburetor, okay? Get everything good and clean. Next, what we want to do is we want to remove the carburetor bowl. This is the bowl here that fills up with gas. You've got your fuel line that goes on the inlet here. Your fuel goes in. It fills up your carburetor bowl. Your float rises, and then it's got a little valve just right underneath this here. And when your float gets up high enough, it blocks the flow of gas. And then as your bike runs, it'll drop down and let more gas in. It's a constant opening and closing of the little valve here. But let's go ahead and remove the screws here on your carburetor bowl. Got that one loose. Let's get this one loose. Okay, let's take our screws out. Got the screws off. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to make sure that everything inside the carburetor bowl is clean, particularly if your bike's been sitting up or just over time with the ethanol fuels and the oil. You're going to get gum and goo inside of the bowl here. So let's go ahead, take out the float. Okay, we're going to clean the float real well. Make sure that there's no oil and residue left on the float here. And we want to make sure that there's no residue and gunk inside your carburetor bowl, okay? Oop, now I forgot to say, when you remove this here, be careful. There's a little bitty pin. Let me get this pin to fall out. This little pin here, okay? Watch out for that, because if you drop it, you'll probably never find it again here, okay? And what that does is that rides on the fingers here that control the flow of the gas in and out of the carburetor. Here's this little pin here that seats inside of the fuel inlet, and as your bowl here fills up with gas, your float rises, it pushes on the fingers, and the seat, this little pin here, goes against the seat. So let's just go ahead and we're going to give it a good spray of carb cleaner inside this opening here. We want to make sure that we've got no residue anywhere inside of here. Okay, now ideally you're going to do that inside of a little bowl with some carb cleaner. I just want to have this out so you can see what we've got here. So we want to make sure that we've got nothing in here, okay? So while we've got this apart here, here's your main jet, okay? And we're going to remove the main jet from this little brass piece. And you want to make sure that the little orifice inside of this here, that there's nothing in it. And I'm just taking this little piece of wire in it and just running it in and out of the jet to make sure that it's clean. Spray it from the back side. And we're going to spray inside this little brass piece here where the jet goes in. Make sure that that's clean as well. We're going to reinstall the jet. Make sure the jet is fully screwed down. You don't want to get it super tight, but just make sure that it's reasonably firm and tight in there. We want to make sure that this little seat here that closes off the gas supply is clean, that there's no crud there. Okay, we're going to put that into the fingers here for the float. This little piece here goes inside of the opening where your gas line comes in. And then we're going to put this little pin back in place. Alright, so now I've got this pin to where we don't have any sticking out on either side. If we try to put it back in with the pin sticking out on one side, it may get jammed up on the carburetor bowl and things not be seated properly. So you want to make sure that this little pin is pushed in. We don't have any sticking out on either side. Once we get our carburetor bowl back on, this little notched in area here is going to hold that pin in place. So now we want to make sure that we've got no residue, no debris inside of the carburetor bowl. You're going to spray it out with your carburetor cleaner. You're going to make sure that your float is nice and clean. You'll get an accumulation of gunk and goo on this here, and a little bit of that can come off and get into your jet and cause performance issues. So we're going to put, now that we've got it clean, we're going to put the float into the float bowl here, the carburetor bowl. We want to make sure that our gasket is clean, that there's no dirt or debris on the gasket. Push the gasket back into place. Make sure your pin is pushed in properly. Then let's put our screws back in. Okay, now I'm just barely going to get this snugged up, okay? I didn't tighten this one all the way, I just barely got it snugged up. Okay, I got it to where I can feel it bottom out. We're going to go back to the other side. Tighten it just a little bit more. And a little bit more on this side here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and give it a decent amount of torque. You don't want to get it too tight. These are pretty fine threads. Don't want to strip it out. And we're good to go there. Go ahead and give your carburetor one more spray all the way around. Double check your work. Make sure it's nice and clean on the outside here. Okay? Be careful putting your carburetor slide back into the carburetor. Now make note, here on the carburetor slide, you've got a big notch here. And this large notch here is going to line up with the idle adjuster here. So I've got it oriented like this here. We've got the hole here in the bottom. You can see that hole there in the bottom of the carburetor. The hole down inside of the opening there. That is where the needle is going to go in. Let's do it like this here so you can see what we're doing here. We've got the idle adjuster screw here. I'm going to turn this to where this here lines up with the idle adjuster screw. On the other side of the carburetor slide, we've got this groove where the cable goes in. There's a pin inside of the carburetor here, just right behind where the fuel inlet, where your fuel barb is, and that pin will go inside of this slot here. Okay, so we're going to line up the notch with the big notch with the idle adjuster screw, the cut for the cable. We're going to make sure that the carburetor slide is pushed all the way down. Then thread on your cap. Make sure your cap doesn't get cross-threaded. and that we screw that all the way down and it bottoms down. Get it about as tight as you can get it with your fingers. And that is how you clean a carburetor. If you like my video, give me a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. Take care.